What is up, everybody? Welcome to another live Pendergast podcast on this beautiful Thursday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor to sit down with my friend and the absolute legend, Stuart Clotworthy. But before we get into this episode, it is sponsored by Next Level Financial. Take control of your financial future. Get your complimentary financial analysis today by Seth Starr. Everybody knows who Seth is. Stu. He's a racer. He's a track day junkie. He has his own suspension company. Now he started this whole financial thing, which is absolutely mega. He sponsors riders, so he knows what it takes and the struggles with financial. So people reach out to him. It's painless. It's simple. Let's go. And Stu, I tell everybody this, and you know it just like I know it, right? Don't spend your hard-earned money. I just fucked that all up, right? Don't spend your hard-earned money on an off-the-rack suit because it's just not going to fit you 100% correctly. When you have a suit that does not fit you correctly, it causes all kinds of issues on the bike, arm pump, man, just all kinds of stuff. My recommendation, bisontrack.com. Everybody go to bisontrack.com. Get your suit, tailors specifically measured for you, right? You pick the colors, the logos. You guys see mine up in the background right here. I got the chest protector, the gloves, the whole 9 yards. It absolutely makes a huge difference when you have a custom suit. Love yourself. You deserve it. It's 2025. Take that old suit off the rack, hand me it down to one of your homeboys that maybe fit into it, maybe not, right? Or make a purse or a backpack out of it, right? But you need a full custom suit. Stu, you're racing. You're an absolute legend of the sport. Obviously, you got custom suits too. Yep. Don't give me that shit, man. No, don't even start, bro. A full custom suit is absolutely imperative, especially when you're trying to go fast on a track.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I personally have RST with the race fit, and it's makes a hell of a difference not to have that stuff like flapping around and bunching up in places it shouldn't be.
I had this conversation with my buddy the other day, and he's like, dude, you keep talking about these custom suits. And I was like, bro, so imagine going to get a tuxedo and it's just too big for you, right? Let's say you ride your motorcycle to wherever you're going, and it's like a parachute. And it's pulling you back and it's choking you. It causes muscle fatigue and all that. So people, full custom suit, let's go. But ladies and gentlemen, absolute legend. He keeps saying no, but you guys form your own opinion on this. Wait till you hear this guy's story. He's an absolute legend. So Stu, let's get into it. You're obviously from overseas across the pond.
Yeah, I talk a little funny. I think it doesn't take people long to figure out I'm not American, that's for sure.
And so real quick side story. My son, he knows I'm huge. BSB is my favorite production racing in the world, right? And he knew I went out. Obviously, he's my son. I went to the UK and all this. So, dude, we're sitting there playing PlayStation one day together, Stu, and all of a sudden he comes up with this. He starts talking just like you with this perfect accent. And I look at him, I was like, holy shit, dude. I wish I had that. I wish I could do that because I would talk like that at work. I'd answer the phone like that and all that good stuff. So
my 4-year-old, she makes fun of me. She talks at me in a British accent like a princess, and I'm sure she's mocking me. I don't even know if she knows what she's doing, but yeah, she makes fun of me. Sure.
I love it. And so, being here, we'll get into the whole topic of what brought you here, all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But besides that, growing up in the UK, obviously that's where your humble beginnings started, correct?
Yeah, I was born in Sheffield, but I moved to the Isle of Man when I was 3, I believe. I don't have any recollection of living in England. So as far as I'm concerned, or anyone's concerned, really, grown up Manx. Dad was from Belfast and mum was from Sheffield. So it was kind of a nice place to grow up in the middle.
Listen, absolutely. I absolutely love the UK. When I went out there by myself, I did know a couple people, but they wasn't with me in America, getting on the plane, getting there. And I didn't realize when I got there, like I really didn't do my research, right? I was like, I figured it's like the United States. I show up to the airport, get a car, go to my hotel. Absolutely not. I show up, my buddy picks me up, takes me to London, full English breakfast. And Question: Black
Oh,
pudding. Are you a fan?
I don't think I've ever had white pudding. It's not that common. So I've been thinking about it. Black pudding I actually love. Black pudding is delicious, but to get white pudding is pretty hard. I've never come across it.
So, uh, we're in London, right? And he's like, full English breakfast. I've been waiting on it. Let's go, right? The potato wedges, the mushrooms, yada yada yada. So he's like, have you ever had black pudding? I'm like, yeah, in the United States I eat black pudding all the time. It's good, right? Like, yeah, I had no idea. They bring it out and it's this round disc, right? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, is this like a bread or type of cake or something? He's like, oh, mate, just try it. You either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. Stu, big chunk in my mouth. I got 3 chews in this thing and I spit it out my napkin. I was like, bro, that was the most rancid thing I ever put in my mouth. What is wrong with you? And he's like, oh, it's made out of I guess goat blood, cow blood, whatever it is, right?
Pig's blood. Yeah.
Pig's blood. There you go. It oats, barley, and something else. And I was like, nah, bro.
It's good. It's
Yeah,
delicious.
good. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's all for you. You have it all, right? And right after that, Stewie says, you want to try some white pudding? I'm pretty sure I can find you. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with the pudding right now, but I appreciate it. Maybe next time. So yeah, listen, I felt nothing but love the whole time I was over there. I thought I was going to be nervous and, trying to get around. I showed up in London, 2 trains later, a cabbie to the hotel, walked in the hotel, Stu, sweating my balls off. Walk in there, it's even hotter. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding. Just give me my room. Check in, go upstairs to my room, open the door. First thing I do is I'm looking for a thermostat. Yes, people, it's called a thermostat, right? I'm like, wait a minute. I don't see no thermostat. So I call down at the room. I was like, hey, you guys don't have air conditioning? And they laughed. They're like, absolutely
You
not.
need that for?
Yeah, well, what
For
you
the
need
1
air?
in the year where it's hot?
Right, you must be American. Yeah, absolutely, I am. Right, so it come to find out, I opened up the window. Man, I was perfect. I didn't need AC, but it's that stepping outside your comfort zone, being in a whole new country and different. Everything's different. Bathrooms. You guys have one receptacle for a certain type of shaver. Here in America, there's receptacles everywhere. Right. Little bit of this, little bit of that, but I was welcome with open arm. I remember every time I'd open my mouth, people would flock to me like, "Where are you from?" Roanoke, Virginia, because I sound like a kind of hillbilly to everybody, right?
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing though. But anyway, back to you, Stu. Growing up, obviously that's where your story and your journey started on 2 wheels. Did you ever get a street bike for the public roads, or did you just go straight into racing, or how did all that
No,
work?
I'm into the road racing pretty late in life. Honestly, I've been a hooligan my whole life. I started out with trials. For some reason, my dad was into motocross, but when it came to living on the Isle of Man, there's something to do every weekend. It's an enduro and motocross trials. There's even multiple trials clubs which you wouldn't even hear of over here. And so we went down the trials road, which I have always said I think it like builds the skills for any type of racing whatsoever, or any type of motorcycle riding. It's the foundations for everything, I think. So started out with trials.
I love it, and I've watched trial bike. Matter of fact, a dealership that I worked at, man, I can't ever remember the guy's name, but he kept talking about this trials bike he's getting in. A lot of people didn't know what trial. I knew what a trials bike is. Like, I can't wait to see this thing. As much as he's talking about it, I've never seen one in real life. Dude, he got a Repsol. I think this was.
Montesa.
It was absolutely beautiful. And he's like 53 years old at the time. And I'm like, man, are you really going to ride that thing? He just looked at me with this shit eating grin. Like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah, it's yeah, beautiful bikes, right? Trials, for people that don't know, I'm not going to go into detail. Just look up the Trials bikes. They're absolutely amazing. They're the ones that hop on the rear wheel and jump through things and climb tree. It's yeah. Anyway, so us Americans flat tracking, right? That's how we transition. Well, a lot when we usually grow up to the dirt bike or flat tracking.
Yeah.
Um, trials bikes, I really don't know a whole lot. I've seen them, obviously, watched some of the trials competitions here or there, but how does that translate into road racing besides the balance?
Well, the funny thing is, I still, I just entered my first trial 2 weeks ago, first one in 20 something years. And if when I see pictures of myself road racing, I've always got my two fingers on the clutch. I just, because it's so ingrained in me, I ride with my fingers on the clutch just 24/7. And I always find that pretty funny that I can't get that out of my system, even 20 years after really riding trials seriously. I still, that's part of it. And, but just the balance, the awareness, the clutch control, throttle control, everything about it is, I mean, look at all the world enduros guys. Like I grew up with David Knight. I mean, try riding trials against that guy.
He's a
Ridiculous.
legend. Yeah, a
And
legend.
yeah, I mean, Graham Jarvis, Doug Lampkin, David Knight, all of those guys are trials guys before they were enduro. So the skills really transfer, I think, in every discipline. And yeah, same with the road racing. I think
Yeah,
I mean, Joe
absolutely.
Yids, unbelievable trials rider. And I don't know if you know Joe, but he was just newcomer at TT this year and finished ninth in the Super Twins. First crack
I,
at it.
I mean, obviously, I'm a huge TT is my favorite race of the year. If I could only watch one race a year, it'd be absolutely the fortnight of the TT. It's not even a question. Not MotoGP, not BSB, not Moto, the TT. To me, it's dude, you're a fucking legend, bro. I'm telling you, man. Anybody that does the TT, it's to me, it's hard to me explain the emotions I get watching the TT. I'll never forget the first time I got introduced to it from one of my buddy's uncles, right? He's like, he knew I was into butter. So he's like, you ever heard of the Owlman TT? And I was like, this was 1994. I'm like, five. I know, I have no idea, right? He had a Duke video, VHS, puts it in the VCR, and I'm like immediately glued.
My
Yes,
mom,
dude.
my mom was a manager at Duke Video.
I
Growing up,
love it,
she's
man.
good friends with Peter Duke. So
I
yeah,
love it.
I did a stint of packing DVDs as a Christmas job, doing some money while I was at school. So yeah,
I love it. I still got some Duke video DVDs, right? But the point I'm making is I was immediately hooked. Like I've never seen anything like that before. I was like, what the is this? Are you kidding me right now? This is my exact words, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And they're looking at me like, what, are you kidding me right now? Except for the uncle, right? He's like, yes, dude, this is so badass. I'm like, bro, give me a beer. I'm into this, right? Um, it's we'll get in the whole TT thing. So growing up, trials, what actually got you into the real road racing? Like, what was your first race? Um,
so I basically have been roaming around the world. I moved to New Zealand when I was 21 and got into the ski industry, which is what I work in. I install snowmaking systems on ski areas. So for nearly 10 years, I went between New Zealand and the US, just having winter. I didn't even see summer for uh, 10, 12 years. I did that back to back. And I was just riding enduros at the time because that's really all I could ride in spring, and I could ride all winter. And then I had a Ducati 916S in New Zealand, and that kept me entertained because I live in the middle of nowhere with some beautiful roads. So yeah, I was really just a hooligan for quite a while, and yeah, then I'm a very focused creature, so I focused on work for a while, and then when I got to the job and the point in life where I was wanted to be, then I shift my focus, and then I just that's all I think about. And I think around 2015 or 16, I was back home on the Isle of Man just watching, and it's like I can do this. Why can't I? It's like, I want to do that. I like going fast on the roads. Fuck it. I'll make
Let's
that
go.
my goal. And I'd got some money at the time and I bought, so it must have been 2016 or 17. I bought Adam Bauer's bike off him as he was leaving the island. So it was for the Manx Grand Prix I was back. And I'd never even been on a track at that stage. So I just bought a race bike and was kind of like, cool, if I buy the bike, then it's going to motivate me to do it. And we've always kept, my brother lived on the Isle of Man until a few years ago. So we've always had place to keep stuff. Got all my friends back there. So I just put it in storage and started working towards that goal. So it was very much the Manx Grand Prix or nothing. Like I'd never watched MotoGP. I'd never given a shit about, like, even growing up, my dad was a huge motorcycle guy. We'd listen to all the Irish road racing on the radio. We'd go watch stuff, but we never sat and watched a single MotoGP or World Superbike or anything at a track in our lives. Just no interest whatsoever until it was a means to an end to get to the Manx Grand Prix. And honestly, it still is to me. If I go to the track and if I finish 15th or 5th, I don't really give a shit. Honestly, it's just points towards getting my license to go road racing. And that's it. So yeah, once I set my mind to it, that was it. There was no stopping. That was my focus, and I wasn't going to stop until it was done.
Man, listen, I freaking love it, dude. I love the energy. I love the focus. I love the determination, right? Sandra Bullock actually has a question for us. What's up, Sandra? She says, "What's in the mugs? Tea, coffee, or other?" For me,
I'm
it's
sick, so I've been off the Guinnesses. It would be a Guinness if I wasn't ill. So I'm trying to get my throat back and tea. I mean, 90% of the time it's tea, but I do like to party. Some people have accused me of liking a good time.
but that's part of life, right? We all like a good time. That's why we're here. We got to enjoy ourselves. And me, Sandra, just to let you know, I'm drinking a little bit of red wine in my friends
Nice.
out here in America, K-Tech Suspension. If you guys are not on, big plug. If you guys are not on K-Tech Suspension, big shout out to Dakari, my man Birch and Kendall, man. They're absolutely amazing human beings. So they sent me a hat and a whole, promo thing. And yeah, so red wine. Cheers.
Called out on the drinking already. Jeez.
Dude, well, it's 6:20 here. I had a long day at work. I was super excited about me and you finally sitting down to chat after the phone call we had together. And of course, still majorly buzzing off of Slamming Sammy. I mean, let's just be honest, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's to me, there's nothing like real road racing. Nothing. There's not like what you just said, not MotoGP, not World Superbike, not none of that gives me that. It's hard to explain to people that's not really into it. I get a lot of shit from some of my friends are like, and people in general, oh, it's so dangerous, this and that. I'm like, look,
I'll just stay on the thing.
it,
I've never had a problem with a bike. I've stayed on. The problems start when we part ways. That's the problem. So
that's it. The best way I can explain it though to people is you can't tell somebody that's given their whole heart and dedication in what they love to do and tell them it's a bad thing, right? You can say that to skydivers. You can say that to pretty
no, I
much
get
any
into that.
sport anybody does. Stuart's like, nah, fuck all that, right? But funny story on that real quick is that's how I come over my fear of heights, bro. Like I wouldn't climb on the roof. I'm like, nah, fuck that. I ain't climbing that tree. I'm not getting on that roof. Your frisbee's just gone. I'll go buy you another one. No problem, right? Um, MMI, I'm in Phoenix. Two of my best mates at the time, which I'm still really good best mates with them anyway. They said, hey, we come out to Phoenix. We know you're a vagina at heights. We come out there, you're going skydiving. I'm like, yeah, mate, sure, no problem, right? Didn't even think that they were coming. Fast forward, my dad calls me up. He's like, hey, Richard and Dave's coming out on these dates for 2 weeks. And I was like, I immediately shit myself. I'm like, uh-oh, I already know what this means, right? So my point being is whatever fear you have, look at it in the eyes. You don't got me. I got you, right? Like I got this. Now I'm not scared of heights no more.
Well,
Um,
funny. funny story. The old skydiving kind of pushed me towards road racing because it was during a period where I didn't have, I just felt like something was missing because I wasn't riding enough. And because I travel for work so much, it's like I like jumping off stuff, and I was like, I'm going to get my skydiving license. Maybe that'll help. So typical me, I'm not the one that's like, oh, I'm going to go for a skydive. It's like, I don't want to be strapped to somebody. I'm going to go jump out of a plane on my own. So I got my skydiving license, and then I was riding my motorcycle back and forth between here and Lodi, and to jump out of planes. And I got to the point where I realized that I was enjoying the motorcycle ride more than I was the skydiving. And I was like, I got to do something about this. Maybe skydiving. I mean, you know how easy it is to skydive? You fall. Well, my grandma, great skydiver. She falls all the time. So, like, that's how easy it is. There's no thrill. There's nothing to hit. There's nothing. You go 120 miles an hour with nothing around you. It's not that exciting. And yeah, I enjoyed the motorcycle ride more. So I was like, cool, let's go to the track. Let's start racing.
I love it. It's
And since I went to the track, I've never skydived again. Actually, I couldn't think of that.
I've only done it once, right? Would I do it again? You fucking right, I would, because I remember it's like, to me, Stu, it's like you'll never forget the first time you get your knee down, right? You'll never forget your first line up to the race. Your heart's like 100 million miles an hour. You got all these emotions. You don't know what's gonna happen. You just bam, let's go, right? To me, skydiving gave me that almost that same feeling the first time I jumped out of the plane, just because I was literally shitting myself.
Well, you're strapped to somebody. You have no control. That's the scary part.
That's
you do
so.
Yourself, it's so bad.
That was part of the anxiety for me, is not being in control, right? And I'm like,
well, 100%.
But Stu, so real quick, going up to the skydiving thing, like I'm in the plane, the dude, I'm strapped with a seatbelt over my legs. The dude's I'm jumping with, I'm strapped to, is asleep, right? His feet's literally like right here. My back's against the pilot. And I remember I'm looking out the door. There's a gap in the door like this. And I'm just watching the world get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'm like, I could literally pee myself right now, right? And I grabbed the dude's feet and I'm like, dude, you are driving my anxiety through the fucking roof right now. Like, if I commit suicide, I'm just gonna go on, just get it done. And he just opens his eyes and he looks at me, he smiles, and he goes right back to sleep. And bro, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? When he heard me say that, he woke up, he looked at me, he says, I tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna jump out this fucking plane because we're not turning around, right? And I was like, oh shit, like it got real right then. And I just remember altitude, get up on my hands and knees. I got a hold of the dash. I remember looking over at the pilot like this, and all I see is row of teeth and this smile because he's seen the fear of death in my eyes, right? But once I jumped, man, it was like this. Man, you remember the first time? It's like one of the most freeing things you could ever do, right? Yeah, because you let everything else go. You're like, if I die, I die. If I don't, what a fucking ride, right? Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And so Mel says John McGinnis's dad says hello.
Mel House. Yeah, Mel's a good man. He's yeah, the only man I know in the world that can point out John McGinnis's dad in a crowd. It's Mel Genley. How he knows, we'll never forget.
We'll never know, right? Yeah, dude, McGinnis is one of those. I mean, he's a legend, right? Let's just be honest. You got I
wouldn't know what his dad looked like, would you?
Dude, I've never seen pictures of his dad on social media, but there's Joey Dunlop and Yakima. I do know who Peter Hickman's dad is because when I went to Cadwell Park, Peter had just moved from his old shop to a new shop, and he has his very first bike night. It was Wednesday, and I remember I called down there. It was like, yo, I'm from America. I just landed. I want to come, I want to buy a hat and a t-shirt and see, Hickman's play. They didn't tell me Peter was going to be there. So the lady on the phone, I'll never forget it. She's like, "Holy shit, your energy is just so intense." I was like, "Can I please come?" She's like, "Absolutely. This is the address. Straight downstairs of the hotel. I need a cabbie. Let's go." Right? They're like, 15 minutes, it'll be here. Show up. They meet me out in the parking lot. They open up the door. I was like, "Whoa, what's up, baby? I'm Simcoe from Pin the Gas Podcast America. Let's go." Right? And he's like, their eyes are this big. They're like, "Holy shit, you're," because I'm loud and my accent and all this, right? And they're not used to being around Americans. They didn't tell me fucking John McGinnis was standing inside. I literally opened the door, walk in. Not only is he standing there, um, Hickman, I'm sorry, not John McGinnis. Hickman standing there with his TT winning bike all on display with the trophies and all that. And he was actually doing work. And I remember the guy, I forget his name, said, "You need to take a picture of this because it's rare you see him doing any physical work." So of course I pull up my phone and it snap a picture and he just smiles. And yeah, he invites me back that night to a bike night. I meet his dad. Cadwell Park, I show up. I'm sitting in the clubhouse where they, serve the alcohol and you can buy all the drinks and all the food and all that. And here comes his dad walks in. He walks straight up to me. He's like, "Hey, mate, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. What'd you think of last night?" And my mind's like, "Were you kidding me?" So throughout the whole weekend, I see Peter every time he comes by, he's giving me a fist bump. His dad's always coming to give me a hug. I see listen, it was never forget it. Best race weekend of my entire life. Not MotoGP, not none of that. Was my BSB. It was
It's a different game. Even just watching it, I've never even been to a BSB. Honestly,
bro.
I've been out of the UK for 22 years now. I've been in the States or New Zealand. So yeah, I'm half my life now. I've been out of the Isle of Man.
Dude, I'm so in awe of you, man. Dude, living at the TT, which is my favorite place ever. So it's, to me, it's like the Peter Pan land. It's this magical place that, it seems so far away, but it's really not.
You should try winter. See how magical you think it is then.
Well,
People always say, "Oh, why would you leave the Isle of Man?" Try a winter there. It's a bunch of alcoholics clinging to a rock in the middle of the Irish Sea, is what it is.
But we could all meet at Joey's bar, right? And hang out at Joey's bar and drink
Joey's
pints.
is an island.
Okay.
Joey's is in. I actually was just wearing the T-shirt yesterday. Yeah, Joey's in Ballymoney.
Yeah, that's right.
But we have plenty of bars. The Isle of Man, no shortage of bars. That's that's definitely a place to do some drinking.
They always say if you're going to break down the TT, you need it right outside the pub is the best place to do it, right?
Well, we used to do when we were younger and wilder. I don't even think I can handle it these days. We'd for people's birthdays and things, we'd get just whoever's van was available, and we'd pile like 10 or 15 of us into the back of a transit van, and you'd start at the grandstand and you'd have a pint in every pub all the way around the TT course. And at the time there was 14 pubs. So when you're 18 trying to get 14 pints in you and then turn yourself loose into Douglas, into the nightclubs, with 2 sheets to the wind most of the time, somebody would get arrested every time. But yeah, I mean, just 14 pubs. Nobody ever drove a second time. The people that were the driver were just like, "Fuck that. There's too many loose people. I can't handle this shit. Never doing this again." Trying to round up 10 or 15 drunks that have got 14 pints in them and then turn them loose into Douglas.
Yeah, that's a good time though, right? So I know we got kind of off subject, but this is the beauty of a podcast, right, Stu? But my question for you is, growing up, doing the whole trials thing, wanting to race on public roads, what were the steps that you had to take to actually finally make it to your first TT race?
So I don't think I'm classic textbook route to go down. I'm extremely good with paperwork. So because I've done the visas between different countries for all my life, I read the rule book through and it's like, okay, that's what I need to do. Cool, let's do it. So step one was I'd never actually, I mean, I knew I was fast compared to anyone I ever rode with on the roads, but I never really rode with people. I'd always go out on my own, road bike wise. And my entire road bike experience, I didn't even have a license till I was 25. I used to steal my dad's bike. My mom had a beautiful MC24 400, the little Honda V4. And that was the first bike I ever got on the road. When they went on holiday, I was 15 and off I went. I mean, we got no speed limits on the Isle of Man, and sure, there's not that many police either. So year round, you can go and have a lot of fun there. So then after that, I lived with my dad, and he got sick. So he was in and out of hospital quite a bit. And every time he went to hospital, that beautiful 96 CBR that he coveted so much got the living shit thrashed out of it over the mountain by an uninsured, unlicensed hooligan. And so that was really, if I was on a motorcycle, it was going flat out. I never just went anywhere for the sake of it. It was always flat out. So, but of course, you don't know how that translates to the track. So I booked a track day, bought a track bike over here at GSXR 750, and just showed up on my own. Didn't know anyone, and went out in C group. And I'll never forget, it was awesome because I work for this track day company now. I work for as an instructor. And I get in after C group, first session, and one of the instructors is waiting. He's like, "You're too fast going to B." I was like, "Cool." Go straight back out in B. I was like, "All right, that's a good boost to the confidence." I get back in after B, and there's another instructor. I'm like, "Oh, I'm in trouble." And they're like, "Oh, you're too fast for that. Go straight, get in A group." So my first ever time on the track, I went from C group to A group in the first hour. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm okay at this. And because my ultimate goal was racing, I did 3 track days and then signed up for the NRS. And then the 5th time I was ever on the track was first time the flag dropped for the AFM. So I wouldn't exactly say I had a whole heap of track experience going into it. So I got to get a license. This is what I got to do. I can't be messing about doing track days. If I'm spending money, it's going to be racing. So not your typical entry into the racing world, I don't think. And I was straight into 600s as well. I took the motor out of that Gixxer, and apparently I'm one of the first people ever to put a 600 in a 750 because there's no information of how to go down the motor size. So I learned a lot with that swap. But yeah, off we went racing. And like I said, with my focus, I knew you have to have the equivalent of an international license. With the ACU, that takes at least 18 months to get. So they need to see that you've been racing for 18 months. So I started racing, and I went down to Chuckwalla and raced all winter, raced all summer with AFM, went back. And after 18 months, I had more than enough experience to be ready. Oh, well, in my mind, ready. I was nowhere near ready. So.
What was your first experience like at the TT, man? It's such a, to me, every time I say TT, I just get this shit-eating grin on my face. It's like this, again, magical, different universe in the planet, right? But you know, and everybody, a lot of podcasts. Big shout out to my man Dave Neal at Off Track Podcast out there in the UK. You know, when he interviews a lot of the BSB, all the BSB, and a lot of TT guys, always has a question. You know, what's it like under the tongue? You know, under the U shape coming out, and the guy hand on the shoulder and taking off.
So what's it like? Well, let's clarify. I'm not at the TT yet. I'm Manx Grand Prix.
The Manx Grand Prix.
Right. Same track, same, but yeah, definitely not at the level of those TT boys. Are we talking just watching it, or are you talking riding it?
Your first experience actually racing on it.
So for me, it was a very strange experience because um, I'd basically held myself back a year by smashing my foot to pieces, and then right when I did my newcomers stuff in late 19, ready for the 20 Manx Grand Prix. I had my entry, I had everything ready, and then COVID hit. So basically, right when I was ready, all mentally ready to go to Manx Grand Prix, the COVID came along and just destroyed that plan for 2 years. But in hindsight, I needed that 2 years. I went racing in Utah, and I'm a lot safer rider than I was at that stage. So I'm quite at the time I was livid. But in hindsight, it gave me 2 more years of prep to really get my head around what was going on. And at least being from the Isle of Man, I think I knew what I was getting into. There is literally, and I say this to anyone that talks to me about it, there's nothing you can do to prepare for it. What track in the world are you wide open for 5 miles at a time in top gear, taking corners?
None.
None. There's
None.
on a twin, there's at least 3 sections where you don't even back off for 5 miles at 140 something miles an hour. And that sensation of speed, there's nothing. There is no preparing for it. There's no whatever you think you've got in your head that's got you ready for that, you're wrong. And until you actually get there, you're not going to find out whether you are ready or not. So the first time I went there, and you can't even make this shit up. So I was getting pretty ready, and then that was the year that they held the entries until June, and the race is in August. So I didn't even know I'd got an entry until June, and they changed the classes. So I ended up getting an entry for the junior, and I had a 600. And the junior became the twins. So I'd never even ridden a twin before, let alone even own one. So I got an entry 6 weeks before the actual event, and I didn't even own a bike for that category. And I'd never ridden one before. So for me, the first time I ever actually went down and set off from the grandstand was the first time I'd ever ridden a twin. So it was a very steep learning curve.
Bro, and you say you're not a legend, Stu. Come on, man. Get out of here, bro.
Well, the best part was come May, and this shows I have a history of being a bit of a loose cannon, but you can't even make this shit up. I managed to dislocate my kneecap singing karaoke and tore all the tendons off my kneecap, so I could barely actually walk, let alone race a motorcycle.
Hold up, Stu. How did you end up? Hold on, we got to take this back.
Final countdown, straight to the final countdown. It'll get you. No warm up song, no nothing. I was just I should have eased in with like Toto's Africa or something.
Right.
Not it, but I went straight for the big guns, straight for the final countdown, and leg guitar got me and popped the old kneecap out. So I could actually barely, my first Manx Grand Prix, I could barely walk. And then I jumped on a bike that I'd never ridden in a class I'd never ridden, and off you went. Good old road racing.
But legend, bro. It's real road racing. So how did you and Adam Bauer meet?
Literally just he was racing and I was over there watching, and he put his bike up for sale. So I met him, and he's a similar minded idiot that likes a beverage and likes to ride some. He's like me. He's a motorcycle enthusiast, like there's quite a few racers that don't even give two shits about bikes. They don't really know the history of racing. They don't know bikes, and I come across those quite a bit. Whereas people like Adam and Adam's got a great bike collection. I've got 20 bikes, I think, at the minute. I haven't counted in a while, but I've got like a 62 Norton. I've got an Aprilia RS 250. I've got um, all kind of an RD 350. That's cool. I've got the sidecar. Vintage. I got into vintage sidecar racing. I'm sure we'll go down that road soon. But yeah, I've got all kinds of crap. And Adam's the same boat. He's a guy that likes to go racing every now and then.
He does. He's an absolute legend too. My buddy Israel, he's actually trying to get into the Manics. Israel Gillette says I had 4 NC24s that were the best sounding of the little NCSs.
Yeah, beautiful bike. I wish we still had that.
Man, you know, I've always been jealous of the United States not having the proper bikes that you guys always had over there in the UK, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of the Japanese imports. That little NC came from Japan when my mom got it.
Yeah, what blew my mind is when I went to Peter Hickman's bike night on that Wednesday. Man, I seen all the bikes that I always dreamed of seeing in real life, much less owning. Right, and I'm like, oh my god, look at this bike! And everybody's like, holy shit, who is this guy again? Right, and I'm just taking pictures. Can I sit on it? Can I touch it? I just want to make love to it real quick, right? Not give it right back, you know, that type of scenario. It's absolutely amazing. So, look, I can't stress enough, Stu. You're an absolute legend, bro. For real. You, Adam, everybody that's done the real road racing. It's
if you meet the American crew, I mean, we've got Pete Murray. I don't know if you've met Pete.
I haven't met Pete.
Weird as can be. What's his name? The Californian guy didn't go last year. Yuri Barragan. He's not.
Yuri.
You got myself. I mean, Israel's not exactly your average human being.
Israel's awesome. Yeah.
And then Andy Scarve is a unique creature. He's great. He's a very elusive young man. The whole Team America over there is quite, and Ricky
K, Ricky Bobby, Ricky K, and
he's from
Dave Thomas, right? We can't forget him.
Yeah,
dude, we can't forget Dave.
Yeah, the whole group is not. It's not what you find in the Moto America paddock.
No,
as your average cat.
No,
it's a different breed for sure. So, well, they're all fantastic human beings.
They are, dude. I find that so you've done club racing, you know, to get your points for your license and all that. So this is how I see it, Stu. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the legends of our sport that do real road racing, I don't care if you end up dead last, you're a fucking legend, right? Because of the commitment you got to make and just everything going into it. Being the road racing, coming from track days and your whole mind's just solely on, you know, the whole public roads. To me, what separates you apart from Ryan Vickers, okay, I'm gonna use him as an example. He's strictly short circuit racing.
So what I learned early on in my career, because when I went into novice racing, I mean, my first round, I won a race. And I was in the top 5. There's quite a few fast guys during that. So within the top 5, pretty much every round for my whole novice season. And I kind of got sucked into the short circuit mentality. When you win stuff, when you're in the top 3, you just want to go harder. And there was a group of us, Sam Gloss, Grant Cowan, Tyler Bacon, myself, really the core members of it. And we were just known as the duct tape crew. And it wasn't that particularly it wasn't that we crashed more than most. It was just noticed more because every one of us was racing 5 races a day and pushing at the front of stuff, and inevitably somebody's going to crash. So our pit, basically from the start of a race weekend, there was somebody's bike being duct taped back together or zip ties, and it I think from the outside it looked like we were just wild, but it was just your turn sometimes. And if you actually looked at statistically, we didn't crash any more than most. But what it did was it sucked me into the racing because I was like, God, I don't mind crashing, honestly. But then when I really focused on the road racing, I had to actually step back and just pull my head out of my ass and say, I've got to ride these tracks as if there's walls. And once I changed my attitude, even with our guys at the track day uh, company like Carter's that I ride with, I don't tend to ride with them because I have to keep my mind in a road racing mindset 24/7. And I rarely, I haven't crashed. I don't want to say that, but I haven't crashed in a long time. And because I changed my mindset, and now when I go racing on the short circuits, I don't get sucked into battles. I don't get that what I had during those first couple of years because I'm looking at the bigger picture. Like the short circuits is just to get to go road racing, and if I change my style, I'm going to put myself in danger on the roads, pretty much. So, it definitely affects how you ride the short circuits too. I can't switch between the two. And
100%.
and the good example was, so Sam Gluss is considerably quicker than me on a short circuit, well, good 4 or 5 seconds a lap at some places. He came to Cookstown and Tandragee with me, and I was 8 seconds a lap quicker on the roads because he's a short circuit guy that rides as if he can crash. And when you put some furniture around him, his head couldn't really process it, and it took him a lot to actually get around that. And he got up to speed once he got going, but he wasn't prepared for it, I don't think.
The best way I can explain it to people is our short circuit racers are comfortable going speeds at a wide open space where legends as yourself and everybody else, Adam Bauer and everybody, are comfortable at going mock bejesus speeds in a confined space, right? That's just my easiest way to explain it. Do so. My question to you, Stu, is when you approach a short circuit versus a real road race circuit, is your approach different at all?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I don't care less. I am literally just there to have fun at a short circuit, and that's it. If especially now to get the signatures, when you're trying to get into your newcomers for the Manx Grand Prix, they look at the speeds. They need to see you within 92% of the winner's speed for the race distance. And once you get, so you have to be competitive. They're making sure that you're actually fast enough. And then once you have some experience with the road racing, you don't need that. So to me now, a crash is pointless. All a crash does is mean I have to work harder at getting my road racing license. The mountain course license is, they only accept one race per day over a weekend. So if I go racing, there's no point in me doing 5 races other than for experience. So now I'm more likely to just go and do 1 race a day or 2 races a day. Whereas in my early stages, when I was trying to get the experience, I was racing 5 races a day every day and racing every month. Now it's more of a, I can relax and I can take it easy because nothing to do with the short circuit helps me on the Isle of Man. it's just, I can flip a switch because you're on your own. You're not around other bikes on the Isle of Man. Funny thing, I met Felix from Kramer in a bar in Garmisch, Germany, of all places. And he asked me what it was like because he's a big fan of TT, and I was I described it in my watch. Just sitting on the bar, I described the first 2 miles, and my watch thought I was exercising because my heart rate went up just talking about it. It's like being fired out of a cannon. Bray Hill is the most ruthless place to start a motorcycle race you can imagine. It's steep as hell. It's flat out, and basically your head's bouncing off the tank. You're wheeling straight after. You got Aggo's Leap, and then another wheelie bump, and then you're into a bit of a tunnel, and flat out down to going from 140 down to first gear again. And it's there's nothing like that.
You know,
So,
and
no,
a
the
lot of people.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of people don't realize that when you guys started at the Mannix or the Isle of Man, yeah, you start out from nothing to fucking wide open down Bray Hill, man. It's like from nothing to just boom, and that whole psychological mindset, you know, it's just got to be on point like this.
Yeah, and we do the practices in the evening. So,
Yep.
like when I've got my kids over there, I'm literally playing and building sandcastles at the beach during the day, just going on the horse trams and roaming around, not even thinking about bikes, and then have dinner with them, and then go jump on a bike and fire yourself out of a cannon down Bray Hill. It goes from one extreme to the other. Your day's quite an interesting day when you do that shit.
110%. I couldn't imagine the adrenaline rush down Bray Hill, and I love that camera that they put up down there at the Bray Hill. It's not the start; it's that lap after that start where you're wide open coming down that straight, and you hit that Bray Hill, and it's just like,
Well, you've lost the adrenaline. I find the first lap is the most intense because you still got adrenaline. By the time you've done 37 miles and you come back around, you're not going much faster.
yeah.
And yeah, it just seems easy then. You're saying,
Hey, that come out your. It seems easy. I feel you on that, right? But yeah, okay, whatever. Legend. Israel says, any interest in the pre-TT this year?
No, I'm actually saving my money because I don't have much. There's some talk of ending up in New Zealand towards the end of the year, and I spent a lot of time there, so I really want to go back. And they do some real road racing in New Zealand, so got involved with Eric Wilson and Dave Hewson down in Mexico, and those guys are. Well, even Dave says I think it's Eric that's really the good influence of. He just wants to go do stuff, and he's such a driving force. Like he was just down ships his bike. His bike has got more air miles than most people get in their lives. Like he's just shipped it down to Australia and was riding at Phillip Island a couple of weeks over Christmas. And then his bike has been back and forth between the States and Mexico and all kinds of stuff. So when you get involved with Eric, there's always an idea. And yeah, I did the Southern 100 the year that it got cancelled. I was over there for that. And I love the Balawan circuit. I've got the bikes there. I've got a place to stay there. It's really easy for me to go and do it. But we'll see. I got my sights set on New Zealand this year if these things work out. So
I love it, man. Everybody just said, dude, Eric Wilson. I got him coming up. I've had Dave Hewson on already. Actually, I got a double podcast with Eric and Dave, so it's going to be
they'll be fantastic.
Fucking mental, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they just took us under the. I don't even know what is in it for them. They just love the fact of helping out people, and especially Americans. They seem to have taken to it, and there's nothing in it for them. It's not like they get just the enjoyment of being involved and helping people out of it, and just that genuinely good people.
To me, they are the ambassadors of the real world racing sport. What I mean by that is their passion, their love for it. It don't matter where you're at in the world. You want to come, they want to give you the opportunity, they want to help you out as much as you can, but that also translates into helping the sport grow too as well, right? Bringing outside people in there. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I tell my wife, if I was to drop dead right now, as me and you are doing this fucking chat, dude, cremate me, burn me, fly me out to the TT. I don't care where you put me. Just leave me. Go enjoy the rest of your life. Forget all about me. Just let me be in my happy place, right? But to me, them two, yeah, I've heard like Israel. He's trying to. This is his last year to make it at the Mannix. He's really trying hard, and it's like, dude, you need to reach out to Eric Wilson. He's absolutely the guy to talk to. 110%.
It's just paperwork, honestly, and people. Yeah, it's really just get your paperwork in order, get your name known, and I always tell people we don't really have a big list of people trying to get in there now at the minute, Americans wise, and I tell people it's gonna cost you 20 grand, and it's going to take you 3 years, and you're not going to do it any other way. And the first year, basically, they want to see your name amongst this huge list of other people trying to get in. And it's going to be the first time they've seen your name. They're going to throw that in the trash, most likely. The second year, they're going to see your name, and they're going to be like, oh, we remember that one. Maybe we'll actually look at it. And then pretty much the third year, they're like, oh, we've got to give this guy an entry. Otherwise, we're never going to hear the end of it.
Yeah, he's going to keep calling and be like, dude, just get this guy on the list, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I sent my race results to them. Instead of saving them and sending them my race results as one big package, I emailed Heather my race results every time I raced. She was so sick of seeing my name and sick of the emails that I'm sure she just wanted to get me out of the list. So,
I love it.
Yeah, it's really just get the paperwork done. I've heard people try and be like, oh well, I know so and so. It's like that doesn't matter. The Manx don't give a shit. Like the Manx people work this is how it works. And if you poke that bear and you try and be like, oh well, I'm gonna go around that, you'll just piss them off, and it'll actually make it worse for you. Just accept that there is process. A system in place, and get in line, do their process, and you'll get your turn.
Believe in the process. You hear that all the time.
Manx people are very not flexible with stuff like that. It's this is the process.
I mean, being what it is, you can't blame them, right? I mean, it's again, people, real road racing is absolutely where it's at. There's no greater feeling. There's no more pleasure that I get doing anything in my life. Of course, my wife and my son, right? But all that aside, it's real road racing. It's not short circuit racing. It's hard to explain the emotions, the anxiety. Dude, it gives me so much anxiety before the TT comes up. I know people that race there, and it's like, it's the Macau, dude, all of it. I just don't know what to say, man. It's such the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
We should try being on the bike. It's way more fun.
I know, man. Dude, that's the same thing my man Ricky K said, dude. He's like, bro.
I think Rick and I have the same attitude. It's like we just watch people having fun, and well, I can have fun too.
Absolutely. And so
it's not a hard concept.
I have a comment from Karen Clotworthy. She says, ultra lightweight specialist.
Oh, Kieran, that's my brother.
Yeah, Karen.
Yeah, that's so that guy. Yeah,
he said that guy.
I'm waiting for Andrew Lee to say something stupid, to be honest.
Yeah, dude, Andrew Lee's a freaking legend too, right? Let's just be honest.
He's not been on.
I,
No, my
so I,
brother,
I I know his girlfriend Mallory Dobbs. She races in the FIM
don't
All
get involved with
Women's.
Andrew. He's an idiot. Don't, don't even open that can of worms. You don't want to get involved in that. You haven't got time for that. So,
Andrew Lee, hit me up, baby. Let's go. Right? Yeah, that's awesome.
no, my bro. So he's making fun because I actually this year rode Dave Hewson's Cowie 400. And I'm not exactly known as an ultra lightweight kind of guy, but I seem to keep doing well in the ultra. It's the only replica I actually earned this year was on a bike that had never even made a lap around the course during practice. But because the practice was so bad, they basically just, or the weather was so bad for practice this year that not people weren't getting enough laps in on the bike. So they just said basically everyone qualified. It didn't matter about your times in practice. So luckily, this bike that I think I'd done 2 laps on it on 3 cylinders, and that was all in practice. And it was a 1 lap race, and I loved the thing. We got it running on 4 cylinders, and it's like it's the last race of the event. Let's go. And I brought it home, and technically, if you look at the ultra lightweight, it was 24th, and then you take out the 250s and just put the 400s, and I was something like 15th. And then you take out the TT guys, and I came in 9th, I think, out of the Manx Grand Prix people. So again, ultra lightweight specialist, yeah. And I'm looking forward to it again because you just wring that thing's neck. It was, I mean, there's places like through Kirkmichael, you come out into Bagaro on a big bike. It's fairly intense. But on the little 400, I didn't even back off. You just stand up like you're riding a scalded cat and just let it do its thing between your legs and keep it pinned and hope for the best. It's a fun little bike. It was good.
So I just watched his he was just restoring a ZX 400RR 400. It's funny you say that because I was listening to Josh Brooks talk about Peter Hickman giving him advice through the section of the TTs. Like, dude, a 5th gear tap, point it towards the wall and point it in and just shoot it out the corner. And Josh is like, yeah, I'm not fucking ready for that. Like, what are you, insane? You know, it's
well, there's a lot. I mean, even it's just you have to build up to everything. It's just laps is all you can do. I mean, the amount of times I can sit there and tell you go through Bray Hill, even on a 600, just flat out go through the bottom of Bray Hill. I guarantee you'll roll. I didn't. It took me a while. Like, I mean, Balagary. First year that I was coming into Balagary, I was breaking weight. I was braking for a start on the twin, dropping it down a gear. I'm like looking. Now it's basically I just keep it flat, and then when I see the curb, I roll slightly, tip it in. As soon as it's tipped, you back on it. I don't even drop down, don't brake, nothing. If you'd have told me that I was going to be doing that straight out the gate, I'd have told you you're an idiot.
right. You'd be like, not this guy.
Once you've done it once, like DJs as well, you're not going to get through DJs first try. Okay, here you are. You're not going through it flat out, but the second or third time you might. You're like, okay, I got this.
One of my
it's fine.
Again, legend, bro. One of my favorite racers, of course, Joey Dunlop. Forget, all the Dunlops was, dude, David Jeffries. He was,
he's mine because he was a big boy,
bro, dude, big boy. You look at him, you're like, there ain't no way this guy. He get on that bike, you're like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah.
And he was just came from a hooligan background as well, and
he did.
Shame about old DJ. He is definitely a legend. He deserves legend status because he did things on bike that other people couldn't.
To this day, still can't. I mean, it's Absolutely, especially to that V&M dude. If you don't remember the red and yellow V&M or him on
Yeah.
the blue and white Gixxer, it's go back and watch it. It'll blow your mind.
I watched
So
an onboard lap of his actually.
it's intense. It really is. This right here, Stu, is my buddy Jason Doss. He races out here in America. Well, we're in America, right? He says how many times you get to practice on a twin.
Well, if we're talking, so the the one thing that really shocks people is when you go do the Irish stuff like Cookstown, Tangigeese, Southern 100. Americans are not prepared for that because you literally will get 5 laps as you're qualifying and practice. So when you come to any of the Irish stuff, you are straight out the gate. Just you got to bring it because that's your qualifying, and then you're racing after that. The next time you see the tracks, racing, which yeah, it's not like how we do in America where you actually get to do some practice laps and ease your way in. You got to bring your A game straight out the gate, and if you're a newcomer, it's very intense.
Question for you: Have did you ever ride Estonia?
No, that's been gone for a long time. If you're talking about the track where Joey died, that I don't
Yeah.
even think. I think it was like 20. It was only 2 years after his death. I think they retired that track.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I would love
Right.
to,
Yeah.
but yeah, and to follow on that question for the twins, basically, um, the weather dictates on the Isle of Man. We don't race in even in slightest bit of rain. It can be glorious on one side of the island and raining on the other. So some years we'll get. I mean, if it's a non-red flagged session, you can get 3 or 4 laps per session, and that's like 4 or 5 sessions. But I mean, you jump off. The cool thing is you jump off of a twin and literally get straight on the 600, and 30 seconds later you're back out on track for the next session. And you'll do like 8 laps in a row if you get a clear run. And you have to do 2 laps on each bike over a qualifying speed to qualify it. And you have to do, I think, 5, 6 in total to actually qualify to race. So usually when I go there, I just knock out as many laps as I can right out the gate because you might rain for the rest of the week. You never know.
So, how big of a jump is it? Or I'm trying to fathom this whole thing coming from a 400 to a 600 and just our twin wide open, right? There's no sort in between. How is it tricky to do that? Is there a different mindset you got to approach that with?
Not for me. I'm not smart enough to know shit. I just get on a bike and go. I'm not that guy. Like you can give me anything, absolutely anything. Like if it was a clapped out road bike, I'd take it. It wouldn't even bother me.
I love it,
So
dude.
I
I
can
love
jump
it.
between them, no issues. But I know other people definitely struggle with that a little bit more than I do, for sure.
And then we got, of course, the legend Ricky K himself. He says, "Even though I know the clock dog."
Oh, that's just they make fun of me for my French leathers. Apparently, red, white, and blue isn't instantly recognizable as American. So basically, they like to call me French and other. I mean, that's just what our pits does. We just make fun of each other.
Of
I mean,
course,
he's Ricky Bobby
Ricky
over there.
Bobby.
Ricky
That's it.
Bobby.
Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby just wants to go fast.
That's it. I love it. I love it. So how important is your pro pit crew?
Bro, it's a bunch of savage alcoholics that were threatening to fill my water jug with their own piss. It's like, how are you trying to race when you come in? You might be swigging somebody's piss for a pit stop. So
Right.
no, my brother's a complete retard, pretty much, and then I've got a bunch of Manx yokels And then my team owner, Stefan Loves Pugs Racing, is what we made. Basically, just made up a team to make fun of him because he loves pugs so much. Pug life, Stefan, if you're out there. Um, and then yeah, so it's not really. I'm allowed to share an awning with Eric and Dave, and those guys give the professional side of the attention to Ricky Bobby and those guys, and then leave me to hang out with the pile of shitbags. To be honest,
I
so
love it, man. It's good. Man, good stuff. And then, and of course, sidecars. We got to touch about on sidecars. To me, dude, to be honest with you, Stu, the solos are absolutely legends, right? But the people that do the sidecars, it's not so much them; it's the monkeys. I'm like,
it's everything about them. They're nuts. They're a different breed.
dude,
And
way different breed.
when you grow up watching them on the Isle of Man, the the biggest thing respect I have for them is that you'll watch half the crowd leave. They won't even watch the sidecars. And these guys, you realize they're putting in their entire every cent they make, every bit of time, effort for really the only for themselves. They're not getting any glory out of it. They're not getting any. I mean, there's a few of us that appreciate it, but it's got to be, in my opinion, 10 times harder to ride a sidecar around there than it would be a solo. Those guys are nuts.
100%.
And you look
100%.
at they're doing, and they're on a 600 with two of them averaging 120 mile an hour lap with barely any suspension. They're lunatics, absolute lunatics.
I couldn't have said it better myself. They're you know, all them guys and girls that do it, they're again fucking legends, man. It's you know, a lot of people, you know, speaking of closed circuit road racing, whatever it is, a lot of the fans of the sport that are just casual fans. This is a good way to put it. Casual fans of the sport, they show up, they see, you know, Stu walking around with the leather suits on, French leather suit, right? With all these logos and patches. They think you know, you make $500,000 a year, 100 grand a year, whatever it is. When the reality is, we're paying to play, right? We're paying to do this. We don't do it for motorcycle racing. Honestly, is such a selfish sport. We do it for us. We're not doing it for our wife or a kid or anybody. It's for me.
I think my wife and kid would be quite happy if I wasn't doing it, to be perfectly honest.
But I'm just saying though, right? But that's why we do it. It's for us. It's not for anybody else. It's that
It was selfish. It's a very selfish sport for sure.
that sickness we have. People call it a sickness. It's not a sickness. It's the most beautiful thing. That's all I can say. It's the most beautiful thing you ever seen. It's the most I don't want to call it a selfless sacrifice, but it
Pointless.
is
This is what
a pointless pointless to everybody else but to you and to Ricky K and to Adam and everybody else, right? John McGinnis and dude and Michael Dunlop, right? Like me getting a TT back in the day, I never thought anybody would ever beat Joey Dunlop, much less his nephew, right? Let's just be honest. Now we live in such a beautiful day and age to where we got to witness that, you know, and that whole achievement, and it's for nobody else but for him, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't do it for the money. You wouldn't do it for the
There is
glory.
no money, right? It's
I mean, where else can they close off some roads and just you get an empty road? Like even I think my first race with the twin, especially because my knee wasn't very good, I didn't enjoy it. Practice, I was not in a good mindset. I was not happy. And if you'd have probably asked me before the race, I'd be like, this is my one and done. And then when everything just clicked in the race and I was just happy, and I'm like, oh, I'm having fun. Everything's flowing. This is not forced. This is, and then once you get in that mindset, that's it. You're hooked for life. There's no getting out of it. But yeah, definitely, it's for me for sure. And I hate to sound retarded or something, but you don't even think of the danger. All it is you've got this beautiful piece of open road And in the race, like I passed about two, because I mean they set you off according to your qualifying speed 10 seconds apart, and you don't see anyone. It's like I passed two people and one person passed me, I think, in my first race, and that's an hour and a half of going flat out on your own with just the most beautiful piece of road in the world and just having a good old time. It's great. You can't beat it. So
I've never been to TT. It's on my bucket list, man. But being on the island, man, the history, the energy, the love. It's as soon as you show up, I couldn't imagine you get off the ferry. It's like this big rush of emotions, right? Much less being there, sitting there, literally 2 feet from everybody doing 200
well,
miles an hour, wherever you're at is just.
I don't think I've got a good view. To me, it's just like I'm going home. So I don't think I can relate. Like if you would, like the first time you get on the boat and the first time you lay eyes on the island, I know what I'm getting at. Like I'm going to see my mates and do a bit of bike racing. Like it's not. I still I love the ferry in particular, but yeah, it's still a great trip across. But I would love to see, like, that's why I had a really good time with Dave Thomas this year, because Dave really, his eyes were just open at everything constantly and is just taking it all in. And he had no idea really. He had an idea of what he was getting into, but he's going to come back this year with a much better idea of what he's getting into. I mean, he was the same. He's like, how do you just keep it flat? It's like, I don't know. You just keep it flat, tip in, you'll be fine.
You'll be.
He's like, yeah, it sounds easy, but my wrist just rolls. I'm like, yeah, mine used to too, but just no.
It's all right here, right? This is the part you got to get past. It's
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Stu. Recommendations for new people that's showing up to the Mannix, the TT, whatever. Some of the best places for the newcomers to watch.
From a like, if you were going over just to watch, and I tend to take people to the classic spots. End of the Concavati Strait just blows your mind that people don't back off through there. You get you can just sit in the field, and they're like, the bikes go by about 6 foot below you because the field's raised a little, and or top of Bagaro is a really underrated spot, because top of Bagaro, the bank actually is about the same as your lean angle. So we don't really back out. Like, you don't change down. You're doing about 140 mile an hour through there, and your shoulders against the grass. And then 2 foot away, people are standing. And that really gives them a good sensation. But I mean, the classics, you got to go to the bottom of Bray Hill, because Bray Hill's cool because you can hear the bike coming just wide open. And it's like, okay, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's like, is that thing not backing off? And then it goes through flat, and then you get to hear it for another like 5 seconds, just it's great. So a great spot to watch. But all the good stuff's on the mountain, really. But that's not like the first place I would take people.
Yeah. I mean, that's where Connor Cummings, if I'm not mistaken, had that big crash. Yeah.
So I grew up marshalling literally on the corner before that, or corner after it, at Graham's Memorial.
Yeah.
And I still try and if you want to get close to the action, marshal. Those guys are amazing. We couldn't do it without them. It's like a little camaraderie. Like, the year after year, these people are coming back to marshal, and it's they'll basically guide you, and you can move around from different sectors for each practice and each race, and you really get to be part of it. And that's my recommendation to anyone is, especially if it's your first time to the island, don't even waste your time going to just look, unless you want to do some drinking. But the marshalling is, they have always, especially the huts on the mountain, they've got like full spread of bacon sandwiches. And they're always, somebody's job is to be cooking or to making teas, and it's a good little atmosphere. So that's the best thing to do.
Man, I can't wait. Again, it's on my bucket list, and I definitely want to get together with you in the future. I'll fly out to where you are and spend the weekend. Then we'll have a proper mega willy good time, as I always say, right? Um, dude, Stuart, we're an hour and 20 minutes in this podcast. It went by, dude, so quick, man, so fast. I want to transition into my other part of the podcast where we get to know you more on a personal level. And after this, though, just stay on with me because we're going to definitely schedule our part 2 110%. But dude, can we take like a real quick little intermission? I've got to pee so bad, bro.
Yeah, you're all good, man.
Bro, I've got to pee so bad, dude. So just give me like 10 seconds. I'll be back in a second, okay?
All right. Because I'll just be hanging out. Yeah, we'll get into that, Israel. I got Dave Thomas stories for days, but that guy's weird.
The cool thing is I can edit this out and it'll be a seamless transition, right? So yeah, awesome. Dude, I seriously had to pee so freaking bad. But dude, Stu, dude, I've been looking so forward to sitting down with you today. Since our conversation, I know I said that earlier. Um, dude, our energies just match so well together, right? It's freaking amazing. But my first question to you, mate, bro, what brought you to the United States from the beautiful Isle of Man?
I had no interest in ever stepping foot here. And the winter ended in New Zealand, and my boss at the time was like, "Hey, I can get you a visa, and do you want to come work in Park City in Utah?" I had nothing else going on. Like, yeah, sure, why not? I only ever intended to just come and maybe do a winter or two, and here we are, like 20 years later. So, no real intention, no active plan, no nothing. I just wandered through life quite a bit for about 10 years, or there's about a 15-year period where I just partied and wandered through life and let things work themselves out and had a good old time.
That's the part of man. Listen, life's so beautiful, right? And I tell everybody when we're young, we think our life is fucking this long. Oh, I'm 12, 40 years, dude. I'm 40. That's I got a lot of life, right? But as we get older, we realize that life's not really that long. I believe everybody should listen, be yourself, love yourself, live yourself, right? Because you only get one chance at it. So whatever you dream of doing or moving to, I told my wife as soon as I left the UK, I come back. As soon as it's like, let's sell all our shit and move to the UK. And she's like, I've never been. I was like, well, let's fucking go, right? Like, why not? We live once, so I like that, man. It's. So how do you find the American food versus the UK food?
God, I don't even get me. You haven't got time for that kind of rant. I got a bunch of chickens and ducks and turkeys, and I'll get deer off of friends and things like what you guys do to animals and food over here is just an absolute disgrace. Every time I go home and I'm like, oh, this is what meat should taste like. Oh, this is what milk tastes like if you don't just feed weird shit to your animals, force feed it. So no, the food over here absolutely disgusts me, and it's not a topic I'm particularly excited to go eat on the Isle of Man or go to New Zealand and just eat all the fresh produce there is just amazing.
Yeah,
You
it's
look at the ingredients on a box of cornflakes over here compared to a European one or a Canadian one. It'll make you sick. Like, why do we have to put all these chemicals in there? There's no point. Stupid.
Dude, Stu, I'm so on board with you 100%. So when I was in Louth, after I left Hickman's place before, because I had like 5 hours before I went back for the bike night, right? So I was like, hey, let's go by the supermarket, right? We call them grocery stores, supermarket. Let's go by there. She's like, yeah, okay. I go in there and I hear all this, look at the UK ingredients versus United our ingredients. So I go in this grocery store. I buy some shit, obviously, take back to the hotel room. So I'm looking at the ingredients, like I Google it, and I'm looking at the same bag of chips or cheese or whatever it is, and I'm like, holy shit. No wonder why Americans are so fucking fat, right? I mean, let's just be honest. We put so much bullshit in our food.
What that got me was I love because I grew up on the island with good seafood. And when I first got to America, I was like, oh, salmon, and it's like salmon, oh, with color added. I'm like, what kind of psychopath is dyeing a fucking dead fish? How much of an absolute lunatic do you have to be to dye a dead fish to sell it to some bastard? That doesn't happen in the rest of the world.
It doesn't.
It's insane.
So my advice to everybody coming from overseas to the United States, first trip, second trip, whatever. Well, all right, hold on. We can't do all that now. I wish, but my advice is when you go to the grocery stores and you buy it, don't buy farm raised, buy wild caught. Wild caught is straight off the boat, straight on ice to the store. You buy it, you debone it, you devein it, you blah blah blah. That's as fresh as you're gonna get. A lot of times you go to the store, it's farm raised, right? So it's like going to buying a goddamn fish tank, throwing 20 fucking goldfish in there and fucking raising them and pulling them out and eating them. It's shit, right? So I got a good buddy of mine, Alan Grayson. He's out there in the UK. Says, "Morning, Chris from the UK. Our first TT this year. I can't wait, mate. I'm absolutely proper mega jealous. Listen, when you get there, let me know. I will give you some money. You need to send me a shirt back, bro. 110%. Ricky K says, I thought you come to do some karaoke, bro. You seen some karaoke? Hold on.
Done. Huh? After the final countdown, I'm out. I'm done. He's trying to lure me back in for one final song, but no, I'm sticking. Karaoke's too dangerous, Ricky Bobby. I'm sticking to road racing.
Dude, I'm planning on a trip with me and Ricky K because he don't live too far. He's like 2 hours from me. I'm gonna go and stay the weekend with him and his girl, and yeah, we're gonna hang out and have a lot of fun. And you bet your ass you're gonna get a video call from us, dude. 110%.
No, I'm scared. I got PTSD. I have flashbacks.
That's all right. We'll just create more. It's all good.
No, I'm done. I'm done. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous, Ricky. Too dangerous.
Alan says, bet he liked black pudding. Dude, Alan, you missed this conversation. Yes. Stu likes black pudding. Me, absolutely not. He says, I'll sort you a TT shirt, mate. Absolutely. Nothing but love. You just let me know, dude. I'll PayPal you or Venmo or whatever the funds for sure.
You just gotta go get your own, bud.
Dude, listen, it's on my bucket list. I'm going to go to the TT. I actually got I got a TT Isle of Man TT t-shirt my buddy actually gave me. When I was there and for the BSB, I bought the only merch I bought was my man Hickman. I bought a jacket, a sweatshirt, and a t-shirt, and then I got the Be Wiser, what you guys call a Gillette. We call it a vest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, mate, it's a Gillette. And I'm like, Gillette is a shaver for we are in the United States. What are you talking about? We shave our face with a Gillette. What is this Gillette you keep talking about? Yeah, it's a so yeah, man. I bought another one of my friends, Josh Brooks, which is absolute fucking legend. And one of my favorite riders right now, coming into he's been there for a while is Storm Stacy, man. Huge Storm Stacy fan. He's good. I can't wait for the TT this year. I feel like it, in your personal opinion, before I get to asking you all these personal questions, man, me and you could sit here and just go on and on and on. Uh, in your personal opinion, um, the whole TT experience, for people that outside of the Isle of Man and outside of the UK that actually want to make it to the TT, what's the best way for Americans to actually reach out to make it to the TT?
I would start by, so do you know Maurice? I'm not even going to try and butcher his last name. He does a TT Isle of Man, TT USA on Facebook stuff. I don't really do much social media, so I only know he's on Facebook, and but he's a wealth of knowledge. He goes every year, and he actually takes tour groups over, so and specifically Americans, and I think that's something like I'm going to look into that when I retire. I'm going to actually go over the TT, basically show people around for their first time, get a minibus. You can come, I'll talk people through a lap. I know all the spots to watch from. So, and Morris is basically doing that. Like he knows everywhere. He's been going for years. He's got the place dialed. So I would recommend reaching out to him. I don't know what his prices are anything are, but when you get somebody with local knowledge, I mean, like senior race day, my favorite thing to do is get on the horse tram on the promenade, then get on the electric tram to the Laxey, take the electric tram up the mountain. This is a Victorian, like a couple of 100 years old electric railway. And then you can go with just take a backpack full of beers, sit in a field with a bunch of sheep and watch the bikes go by. I mean, you're not going to figure that out really first try, are you? You need people to show you the experience, and you can do it. Like it's getting real expensive to go now, but that's what you see of it. If you just like book like the campsites, most of the football and rugby clubs open up as campsites, and you can just buy a tent over there. I mean, if it pours down and it's a bad year, the locals and all the churches and the schools open up and let people come inside and dry out and look after you. So you can do it pretty cheap. I'd just say get on a book a flight and go. And the biggest thing that people don't realize is practice week is not, people aren't going much slower. Practice week, you can go sit. Practice week's dead. And you get to watch the same stuff from the best vantage points for free. And yeah, I don't know why people seem to skip practice week and just think that race week's the be all and end all, because honestly, the quality of the watching and getting around the island is so much easier. So you can at least figure out the lay of the land. The buses, the public transport will get you everywhere you need to go. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I always told my dad, because we've been talking about it here lately. I was like, dude, we just need to do the practice week. Forget the full race week because it's not as crowded. That's what I've been hearing from my mates across, over there in the UK. They're like, dude, the practice week is the one you want to come to.
Well, truly start with the Manx Grand Prix. I mean, the classic bike racing is just as, I mean, those boys aren't going much slower. The
They're
classic, you can get right in the pits. You can get you can get around the island. You can do everything for a quarter of the price, and you get to see just as much bikes and racing.
So of course, everybody knows Milky Quell, right? He does the whole newcomer thing. I'm trying to remember the documentary I was watching that he had that bad crash, come back, and now his son Milky, Ilham, Ilham,
yeah,
he's actually, yeah, he is absolutely. And I remember I had a conversation with Ilham, a phone conversation, and the first thing I said to him was like, "Mate, you look identical to your dad. I mean, the same bottle cap, glasses, the whole nine, right? It's yeah,
and
man.
neither of them look like the guy that you'd expect to be fast as hell. And both are unbelievable.
Legends, man, legends."
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this, mate. What's for dinner tonight, bro?
No idea. Actually, I just saw my wife drive off, and so you know, I think dinner just left. I think I've been for myself. So I do a lot of the cooking, but I just got back from a trip last night and late last night, so I'm a little out of the loop. And she's been roaming around, so I assume she's doing the cooking. But
Venison
tacos, she's
tacos.
listening. See,
I love it. I love it.
venison
Thank you,
tacos.
Sir Herrera.
How are you going
Yes.
to make that wherever you are?
Right? Yeah. How are you gonna make that when you're not home? Right? I'm confused right now. Me and you gonna get in trouble. My wife's probably listening too. She's like, right? Dude, that's awesome. It's I tell people this all the time, Stu. It's imperative that you have that support system at home, right? Because if you didn't have that support system, you wouldn't be able to give all your love and support to Two Wheels.
Yeah, she
I'm
knew
the
what
same
she was
way.
getting into. We had a good talk. Luckily, I was going down this road before I met her, so
Me too.
I couldn't imagine the conversation of trying to get into this sport.
After you're married, you're like, look, girl, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an easy one.
No, I'm just go ahead and give her divorce papers. Look, I loved you, but this is what's happening, right? Yeah,
I'm going to spend all of our money
all of it,
so I can
literally.
get to ride around in circles really fast.
She's like, I need gas. Well, there's $8 in the account. Have fun. I got you, right? Yeah. Take the $8 and let's go. It's awesome, man. Do you have any pets, bro?
Yeah, I can hear her collar. She's roaming around outside somewhere. So Izzy, the dog, she's great. She comes to work with me all the time. She's my best mate. So she's out right now. All the chickens and turkeys are out, so she's herding those. I live in the middle of nowhere, so we got a lot of mountain lions and bobcats, and basically it's a constant fight to um, keep animals alive out here.
I love it. I got Charlie. She's sitting right here. She's always in here with me. And then we just got a puppy. Her name's Fiona, but obviously she's 14, 15 weeks old. She's wide fucking open. Charlie's 13, so it's the clash of the titans, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, one of our turkeys survived, and she was smart enough to befriend the kids and the wife. So she was called Thanks. Giving didn't make it. He had a bad day, but yeah, usually the animals are not technically classed as pets because they all end up in the freezer at some stage. But this one turkey, she's a family pet now. She'll come and just sit on, like if I'm on the swing, she'll just come and sit next to me on the swing and just sit there and you can stroke her. It's super weird. So technically, we have a turkey as a pet too.
I love it, man. There's, I tell all my friends, I'm like, if you want to get away from you've been in America long enough. You already know this. You know the motto is usually is the outside of the grocery stores, not supermarket. The grocery stores is your both healthiest stuff to buy, right? But my whole thing with that is you never know. You want to buy directly from the butcher. You want to buy directly from the farmer that's slaughtering his own cows. That's not putting all this bullshit in it that you go it's being frozen and all this other shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I try to do. Buy like a half a cow at a time or a quarter of a cow and fresh eggs and all that other shit that goes along with
Here
it.
she is. America's found us.
Oh, I see. What a
There he
beautiful.
is.
Love it. I see that tail just going. He's like, I'm
Oh,
hungry
yeah.
now.
She's a wiggler. She's excited. What do you found? Something out there?
Say everything. I got it all.
All the things. She can't
All.
tell yeah.
So since obviously me and you are so much alike as far as the whole TT, well, really a lot alike. I like to ask this question. I don't ask it very often until I know that somebody's really into the TT and that also knows the history of the TT, right? So I'm gonna ask you this question. There is many answers to this question, but I'm just gonna give you two to choose from, right? So in your personal opinion, who had the greatest TT ever come back? Connor Cummings or Robert Dunlop?
Ooh. Robert, because he actually came back and won. Connor, he's going to get his. He will. I have faith. I don't think he's too old. He's amazing because he doesn't. It's not like he's out racing all the time. He just gets on the bike and just for the TT pretty much and just is top three regularly. And I think this year he's on a team where he's actually going to do a bit more road racing again. And he's going to be coming into it real strong this year. And you can never rule him out. So I'm going to say the greatest comeback as of right now is Robert. And Connor might still change that.
I had the honor to meet Connor. He was with Paget's in 2023 when I was at BSB, and I ran into Gary Johnson too as well, which was absolutely amazing. Everybody that's had a wreck and a comeback in the TT, everybody's story is absolutely amazing. But the one, if you was going to ask me that same question, I would say Mike the Bike Hellwood. And the only reason why I say that is you got somebody that's quit the TT, then 10 or 11 years later come back and wins the TT, right? Which is just, it blows your mind because you're real road racing. If you're racing on the road, so it's on public roads, somebody, let's say your braking markers, there's certain hedge at this certain driveway, right? Well, that hedge might not be there next time. So now it's a mind game, right? It's like, oh, fuck, that's not here. I done outbroke myself. I didn't need to outbreak myself at this corner. So it's that whole time off and coming back winning is just and he come back just to beat Phil Reed, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's I know my TT history. I'm a fucking nerd. So yeah, man. Absolutely. So I was going to ask you if you have any tattoos, but I see all your tattoos. I got a bunch of tattoos too myself.
I got a couple. Yeah.
Just a wee bit, right? Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it. Tell us something we don't know about you, bro, at all.
Where we even start? I think my favorite one is I've been punched in the face by a police officer while wearing nothing but a leopard skin man thong. Not many people get to claim that.
Hold up. How did all this happen, bro? You got to tell this story right now.
I was in the BMX world in the early 2000s, and shit's pretty wild. There's a borderline riot that was going on. Don't even ask me why. There was a man thong involved. And there wasn't enough police to be handling the situation. So every time they put somebody in the car, they'd go and get somebody else, and I'd let them out of the car. So after the third or fourth time, they got a bit wise that they kept coming back to an empty car. And I opened the door all happy as shit, and I turned around and just got laid the fuck out. And pretty well deserved, I guess. But yeah, can't make that shit up.
Love it, dude. Welcome to America, people. Right, dude? That's fucking awesome.
No, fuck no. In America, you get arrested for that shit. But the Manx and the English. One thing you need to know about the Manx people is they are literally the loosest motherfuckers on the planet. And you don't realize this growing up, that everybody is actually has borderline insane behavioral problems. It's an entire island that just has a behavioral issue. So the standard of behavior there you think is normal until you actually leave and like, oh, the rest of the world doesn't behave like this. They're actually not quite as wild. So yeah, the Manx are a different breed. Shit that goes on over there.
I love it. So I usually ask people, are you a coffee drinker? But I already know you're a tea drinker, right? Not a coffee drinker. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
So I remember when I was at Louth, I stayed at Kinnick Park. I woke up that first morning. I went downstairs and they're like, they had the whole thing set up with tea and only 2 things of coffee. Of course, I was like, dude, I'm in England. I got to do the tea. And ever since I've been hooked on tea. It's really good. But our American tea is nothing like the UK
well,
tea.
you know why, right? Well, there's a time when you assholes we sent you good tea and you threw it all in the harbour. So we were like, fuck that. You can have Lipton. You can live with Lipton for the rest of your life, you bastards.
Bro, Lipton sucks ass. Let's just be honest.
That's why you've got shit tea over here. We tried giving you nice tea and you ruined it.
So where do you get your tea from then?
I can get the Yorkshire tea in a local Safeway. So in a local grocery store. I've got a stash. So I'm pretty good.
I love it. I love it. Derek T, what is up, my man? He says, if you could race any bike around the mountain course, what would it be? A Britain, a Patton, a Norton, or a V4 SV?
That's not even a question, Derek. Come on now. That's the Britain, hands down. If I could even just ride a Britain down the street, would be a dream come true. I grew up watching those things in the paddock and stuff. And yeah, they still are just absolutely the best bike ever made, in my opinion.
100% rotary valve motor from dude. There's nothing that sounds like a Britain or that the Crichton, right? The Crichton's a rotary valve.
The 588 Nortons.
Dude, there's nothing like it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But no, the Britain hands down is pretty much my favorite bike ever made.
Ricky K says, and peppermint tea.
Go back to where you came from, Ricky Bobby. Don't you insult me with that shit. Don't you bring that evil around here.
Oh my god, I love it, dude. I love it.
Oh that's Jackie right there. I'm pretty sure she's trying to wind me up on the tea front.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it.
Absolute savages.
What's your worst habit, mate?
Worst habit? If you ask my wife, it's probably drinking too much. Worst habit? I know I got too many bad habits to I'm not even going to incriminate myself in that one. But.
Mine was, dude, I just quit vaping. I'm a little bit over 2 weeks of vaping. I quit smoking cigarettes when my son was born. Of course, I picked up the whole vaping habit. Now I gave that shit up too. So yeah, I bet if I asked my wife, she'd probably say a little bit of drinking too myself. So yeah, man, I feel you on that.
Yeah, I really. I'll just stick with that one. That was the easiest fruit to go with.
Yeah, right. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, Stu. Do you do the same?
No, I'm just listening to the same punk rock music and metal that I listened to when I was like 15. I haven't changed in the slightest. I drive a lot for work, and just audiobooks just put me to sleep. Podcasts. Yours is pretty. Yours and the TT Plus one is really all I listen to podcast wise too.
I,
Um,
mate, absolute honor, and thank you so much. It's man, when people tell me that, Stu, I really get emotional because I never dreamed of in a million years that I would be doing what I'm doing and accepted as I have been, right? And when people tell me that, it's just a fucking honor, bro. I just don't know what else to say, but thank you. It means so much to me, man. It really does. It's like anything, you know. You feel like when you hear that, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know. So, yeah, thank you so much. If you do decide, my man Stu, that you want to listen to an audiobook, especially when it comes to road racing, the one that I recommend to anybody, you could ask my mate Alan, and everybody I turn them on to is John Hopkins Leathered. You know, you listen to a lot of audiobooks and you hear their story, but as you're listening to it, you think to yourself, how true really is this story? Because you can turn it and twist it however way you want everybody to hear your story, right? Where John Hopkins, he tells it all. He talks about being a drug addict, an alcoholic, smoking weed, and then riding a MotoGP bike. I mean, he lays it all out there, and it was just this uh really wild story. It drug you in and took you through the ringer pretty much, right? And you understood where he come from and the whole trials and tribulations. And so that's just my recommendation for sure. It's a really good book. It is quite long, but
I
again,
got some long
Guy
drive.
Martin. It
It's
right.
fun.
So, dude, listen, highly recommended. Of course, I got every Guy Martin book that ever come out. I got Joey Dunlops. I got Michael Dunlops. I got John McGinnis, Johnny Ray. I mean, if it's a motorcycle racer with an audiobook, this guy's listening to it. So it's yeah, those are really good. So let me ask you this, man. Who's your favorite comedian?
Uh, I guess
Not
I'm not
Ricky
a
K.
huge. Not Ricky K. No,
Not
I
Ricky
love him.
K.
Jimmy Carr and Jim Jeffries.
I
Jimmy
like it.
Carr, the English guy, just says some horrific shit. It's great. And
I
Jim
do.
Jeffries is an Aussie that lives in the States and basically has a similar mindset to me, to be honest.
I love it, man. Uh, Kara says, "Does it have pictures for Stu? Does it have pictures for Stu?" I'm not
Who
quite
says that?
sure. Karen, your wife. Oh no, your brother. Sorry. Does it have
No,
a picture?
really.
Yeah. Rab C Nesbit.
Oh, yeah, some Rab C. Nesbitt. That's some good stuff. That's some Scottish humor. If you, um, yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
I,
Yeah,
I,
gibberish.
I,
Is he speaking rubbish?
I, I guess I
It's
don't
like
know.
one in the morning. There, he's probably drunk. Hopefully, he's drunk.
Right. Dude. So let me ask you this: if you could invite Stu, any three people, I usually say track days, but if you could invite any three people to the Mannix, dead or alive, who's the three people you would invite?
Or just to hang out with and have a beer, or to ride
Just to
with,
hang out
or
with, to ride with, to chat with.
obviously, I'd like to hang out with Joey. Um, Definitely love to pick his brain, even though he's not a man of huge words. I'd like to hang out with my dad again. So my dad was definitely my favorite person to watch racing the bikes with. So him, and then who else? Probably Hislop. Love to get
Legend,
Hislop's perspective. Yeah,
bro.
he's a very underrated guy. He was a natural talent and an awesome guy to watch
He
back in the day. I remember watching.
he had one of the most natural talents that's ever graced the planet. He actually held the lap record at Donington, even over the 502 strokes, and Valentino Rossi eventually beat it. I can't remember the year 2002 or '03. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
he's
he'd be interesting.
absolute legend of the sport,
That'd
man.
be my
Steve
turn.
Hislop. I remember watching him and Carl Fogarty battling out at the TT.
1990, I think it
Yeah,
was
it was
the epic one,
magical.
the Yamaha versus Norton.
It
Yeah,
was
that was good times.
absolutely. Derek T. Listen, I've read that book, and you're right, Derek. It's a fucking proper mega book. He says, I just finished reading the book by former TT racer Max Oxley, which big shout out to him. He's got a podcast and all that good stuff called Stealing Speed. It was a phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. It's about how a racer stole a two-stroke tech from a Soviet Germany and sold it to Suzuki. Yeah.
Soviet Jet, that's probably a was it? My dad had him. God, what is the bikes out of Eastern Europe, Eastern Germany? Two strokes.
It's
They're great.
I know what he's talking
It's
about.
gone now. My uncle just restored his old bike and MZ or MZ.
MZ, yeah.
Yeah, it's depending on which part of the world. MZ. We had an old MZ. My dad loved them, and my uncle just restored his old bike and brought it over to the Manx Grand Prix a couple of years ago and was riding around on it. So yeah, I bet you that's part of it.
MZ. I remember seeing. I haven't seen one in real life, but in the magazines, seeing the MZ bikes are fucking gorgeous bikes for sure. So I actually have a racing trivia for you from the TT. I asked people. In 1961, Honda won their very first TT race. Who was the rider?
No idea. Hellwood.
Bro, you're the first one ever. Dude, no, Hellwood. That's it. Mike the Bike. Yes, dude, you're the first one that's
well, I
ever
knew
gotten that
Hellwood
right.
won Hellwood won on the Honda. I knew that, but I didn't know the year or.
1960 was the first Honda ever win. Was saying that. What year and what track was the very first Grand Prix race ever held at? When I mean Grand Prix, now it's MotoGP.
Well, that was the Isle of Man, wasn't it? And yeah,
1949.
1949. I would not have got the year, but I know it was the Isle of Man.
Absolutely. So, listen, we're approaching 2 hours of this, Stu. We're gonna cut this short here in a minute. I gotta go eat, dude. Listen, you gotta go, but we're just stay on with me after in this because we're definitely gonna schedule our part two. Let me ask you this, dude. In this current day and age, Stu, if you had your own Mannix TT team that you could fund and field, and you could put two riders on your team, who's the two current riders in the world that you would put on your team? And what's the manufacturer motorcycle that you would run?
For the Max or for the TT, I guess. I'm a big Honda fan, but I ride an R6 over here because it's just faster. I race a CBR on the Isle of Man for reliability reasons, and that's it. So it'd be, if money was no object, it'd be an R6 for the Manx, and I'd just put my buddies on. Like honestly, I'd have Dave Thomas. Can't be without Dave. I'd have Rick Kay. I'd have the team we got right now, Mr. Houston and Eric, and I wouldn't change a thing for the world. Honestly, I have a blast over there. So no, I got no big ambitions. I'm pretty content with what we got.
I love it, man. I love it. I can't wait in the future to where me and you get to meet, and I get to meet Ricky Kay and Dave Houston and Eric Wilson and all them. It's going to be fucking magical. So my last question for you, and then we'll get into all our shout outs and all that good stuff, is if you had one superpower, Stu, what's the one superpower you would have?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for such a question. I don't know. I'd like to go faster. I want to be a Ricky Bobby. I just want to go fast. That's all. Can that be a superpower?
Absolutely, it could be a super. Like he said, what do you say? I put a pound of Alabama, bam, whatever in the bottom of your car. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to fucking drive with the Cougar in it. Yeah, let's fucking go. Dude, I love it. I love it, man. Listen, Stu, this has been so much fun. We're definitely gonna do a part 2, so you guys stay tuned for that. Before I let Stu in the podcast, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody that watches, likes, and subscribe my podcast. If you have not, please go to iHeart, Boom Play, blah 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 blah. Hit that like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Big shout out to Next Level Financial for all your financial needs. BisonTrack.com for that full custom suit. Chef Eats. So Chef Eats is a mate of mine that prepares meals. They come in the mail, right? And on the little ice packs and all that. You stick in a microwave. They're absolutely fucking amazing. He actually sponsors a lot of the future legends of our sport in Moto America. A lot of track day guys too. So if you haven't got to Chef Eats, look them up, order his meals. They're absolutely amazing. Even if you're not a racer, order them for food at home. Dude, you get 11 meals for $100. You can't go to the grocery store and make 2 of those meals for $100. So just saying, and they're proper mega. Big shout out to my man, Bart at TST Industries, theclothingkings.co.uk. You guys can go to that website. Big shout out to Martin and order all your Pin to Gas merch. Big shout out to my man Eric at Superbike Supply, SFL Mini GP and South Florida and New Jersey. My mate Jake Marsh and out there RD Racing at BSB Vet 2 Track, Flying Eyes Optics, 64-degree Racing, Ghetto Customs, Carnes Performance, KYT Helmets America, Cake Tech Suspension, Birch, Kendall, and Dakari. Second shout out for you guys. RTR, Ready to Race in North Carolina, Coleman Power Sports here in Virginia, McLeo Escapes Track and Tour. So if anybody ever wanted to have a dream of racing on any, or not racing, but track days on any MotoGP track, touring the bike riding in the whole villas and throughout the streets and all that good stuff, look no further than him. Road Racing World. I need everybody to go to roadracingworld.com. Donate to the Road Racing World Fund. That is for our air fences here in America. We absolutely need them. It's imperative. If we don't have the air fences, we're not racing. We want to race. So let's go on that. Every bit helps. STG Sports Bike Track Time, Dripping Wet Graphics, Venom Undersuits, V121pro.com, Mike the Spike Edwards. So if anybody out there in the UK wants some proper mega coaching, look no further than him. And BTR Roll Enfield, Build Train Race out here in America. What they do in Moto America is absolutely amazing. So yeah, you guys go check them out. And yeah, let's fucking go. Stu, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can send you questions and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not really much of a social media guy, so
I know.
you're gonna have to find me at Carter's at the track. Is Jesse and Leah Carter really my biggest sponsor, and I instruct with those guys, and basically without them I couldn't do this. I get all the track time, unbelievable, man, and learn off so many amazing instructors that we've got there. So easiest place to find me is at the track, honestly. I race with CRA, AFM, Wera, Amra. I'm going to do some enduros this year. I got trials. You'll find me anywhere, but pretty much anywhere but social media. So yeah, come find me in the real world.
That's it, because we're real people, right? In the real world, that's where it's at. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, listen, it's been an absolute honor to sit down with my friend and the absolute legend, Stuart Clotworthy, man. I appreciate you coming on here. It's been a lot of fun, mate. We had a great conversation on the phone before this. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we got so much more to talk about. You guys stay tuned for part 2, which we're going to schedule here.
Next time. I'll join you on the wine next time, and we'll get it a little more spicy.
Absolutely. So listen, everybody, I hope the rest of your Thursday is proper mega as you are, and I hope your Friday, which is tomorrow or wherever you're at in the world, Australia, it's actually Friday right now. Yeah, I hope it's proper mega, and Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys missed this live, as soon as I end this, you can go to my YouTube and my Facebook and rewatch it. If not, it'll be out everywhere tomorrow. Apple, I mean, not Apple, but Spotify, iHeart, all that good stuff. So, and I'll tag Stu and all that good stuff in it. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys, and have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys soon.
Sweet.
Stu, is there anything you want to say before we get off here?
No, just yeah. I think you've got enough out of me. There's plenty more I could say, but we ain't got time for that.
No, stay tuned for that for part 2, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's an honor with the legend, Stu. See you guys. All right, listen, I'm gonna end this. It's gonna play my little outro that my buddy made for me, and then yeah, we'll go ahead and schedule part 2. So here we go.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.